I was listening to an interview with you, and you told the story of a young man who deliberately ran over another man and killed him. Could you tell that story for our viewers and listeners?
Well, it has to be said that that was a peculiarly horrible case. Mm-hmm. The man who drove the victim clearly was found by the jury to have done it deliberately. But what he couldn't have planned was trapping him underneath the car. He couldn't have envisaged that happening. He couldn't have known that it would happen. It probably never crossed his mind that it could happen. But it having happened, he then drove for nearly a mile with the man trapped under his car. And by the time he stopped, there wasn't a lot of man under car left, but there was quite a lot of man up the road. And so from the family's point of view, it's very hard to think of anything more painful to come to terms with. This would have been a slow death because he could have be heard screaming, which is why people turned their cars to follow. It must have been peculiarly painful and drawn out. So if you want an example of how a family facing the worst sort of crisis deals with it, that would be quite a good case to take. It has to be said, the degree of criminality is about as serious as you can envisage, but in terms of the way the law looks at it, it would not merit the same sort of sentence as if he'd been shot by the defendant. When I began to do murder trials at the bar, the average sentence for murder was the sentence, there's only one sentence, it's life imprisonment. But a judge's job is then to say how long a defendant must serve, a prisoner now, must serve before he or she can apply for parole. The average time when I first came to the bar was between 10 and 15 years. The average time now is far closer to 25 years. And that is because of legislation that has been brought in. Specific laws. So, for example, if you kill someone with a gun, the starting point is 30 years minimum before you can apply for parole. If you kill someone with a knife or other weapon taken to the scene in certain circumstances, almost all circumstances where knives are used in public will be covered here, the starting point is 25 years. For all others, the starting point is 15. Now, the starting point isn't the finishing point. It can go up or it can go down. And those are the guidelines for adults, that is to say anyone 18 and over. They are different for people under 18 and lower. But you can see immediately, can't you, that somewhere along the line, an awful lot of people are going to walk out of prison, primarily men who have spent decades, perhaps as long as they had lived out in the community, in prison, perhaps longer. In prison, they are living in a male society in which they are never really challenged to take responsibility for their day-to-day lives. They are given some help in learning how to manage their lives, but they're never responsible for really what happens. They've almost never had a normal relationship with anyone, certainly no woman, not necessarily someone they really love. They've never lived with children for, since they were young, really young. Now, I've only got to say that for you to see that if we think they are going to walk out and fit seamlessly back into society, we're living in a cloud cuckoo land.